Welcome to the Hindu Editorial Dictation 80 word per minute. Ready? Start. A rather confident statement heard in the midst of India's COVID 19 induced economic slowdown is this: agriculture will lead India's economic revival, but how valid is this claim put forward by government spokespersons and some observers? Four major arguments are offered. First, India's food grain production in 2019-20 was 3.7% higher than in 2018-19. The procurement of Rabi wheat in 2020-21 was 12.6% higher than in 2019-20. These indicate it is argued resilience in the agricultural sector. Second, food inflation in the Q1 of 2020-21 at 9.2% was higher than in the previous year due to sustained demand for food. This shows a shift of terms of trade in favor of agriculture. Third, the area under Kharif sowing in 2020-21 was 14% higher than in 2019-20. Higher Kharif sowing was accompanied by higher tractor and fertilizer sales, which bodes well for economic recovery. Fourth, the government's economic package for agriculture as part of the rupees 20 lakh crore Atmanirbhar Bharat package will further position agriculture as the engine of revival. Let us now consider each of the above claims. Rabi procurement during the lockdown, state governments in many northern states put in considerable efforts to ensure that procurement did not suffer. As a result, procurement of Rabi wheat was higher in 2020-21. However, this claim hides more than it reveals. Full stop. As per official data, only 13.5% of paddy farmers and 16.2% of wheat farmers in India sell their harvest to a procurement agency at an assured minimum support price. Full stop. The rest sell their output to private traders at prices lower than MSP. One should then be looking not at procurement but market arrivals. Full stop. I compared total market arrivals of 15 major crops in India between March 15 and June 30 in 2020 and 21. The market arrivals of all the 15 crops were lower in 2020 than in 2019. It was only in paddy, lentil, tomato, and banana that market arrivals in 2020 constituted more than 75% of market arrivals in 2020. In wheat, barley, potato, cauliflower, cabbage, and ladyfingers market arrival in 2020 were between 50% and 75% of market arrivals in 2019. For gram, pagan, pea, onion, pigs, and mango, market arrivals in 2020 were less than half of market arrivals in 2019. In wheat, the most important Rabi crop, only 61.6% of the arrivals in 2019 was recorded in 2020. Thus, the most important problem faced by farmers during the lockdown was the loss of markets stemming from the disruption in supply chains, closure of mandis, and a fall in consumer food demand. Full stop. Farmers suffered major loss of incomes and higher procurement was hardly elevating stock. In addition, there were major losses in the milk, meat, and poultry sectors. Industry associations estimate the total loss for the poultry industry at rupees 25,000 crore. Inflation and prices inflation rates estimated using consumer price indices are not representative of farmers prices. Full stop. Inflation was largely due to disruptions in supply chains and rise in trader margins. Full stop. I examined the wholesale market prices for 15 agricultural commodities between March 15 and June 30, 2020. Prices of most crop declined. For example, average paddy prices were about rupees 1730 per quintal on March 23, but rupees 1691 per quintal on June 30. Average wheat prices were rupees 2045 per quintal on April 1, but rupees 1865 per quintal on June 30. A moderate uptick in prices was visible in a few vegetables but not before June 2020. The dark side of higher rural inflation in India is that small and marginal farmers are not net sellers but net buyers of food. So it was not just that farmers' prices fell, most were also forced to pay more for food purchases. There is also strong evidence from small sample surveys that rural households reduced food purchases during the lockdown. Thus, the claims that higher rural inflation benefited farmers and that it was due to higher food demand are misplaced. Full stop. There is no surprise in the growth of Kharif sowing in 2020, given that Rabi incomes fell during the lockdown. Many rural households may have returned to farming or intensified farming of food and income security. Lakhs of migrant workers returned to their villages from urban areas. They may have taken up agriculture in previously fallow or uncultivated lands. Data on monthly employment released by the Center for Monitoring Indian Economy show that the number of persons employed as farmers in June and July 2019 were 11.2 crore and 11.4 crore respectively, but in June and July 2020 these numbers rose to the 13 crore and 12.6 crore respectively. These are indicators of distress, not prosperity. Full stop. It is no cause for celebration also because the rural unemployment rates rose sharply in 2020 to 22.8% April, 21.1% May, and 90.5% June. Even in August 2020, rural unemployment rates were higher than in February 2020 or August 2019. Trickle from package. Agriculture contributes only about 15% to about India's gross value added. Full stop. Thus, even if agriculture grows by 4%, it is likely to contribute only 0.6 percentage points to GVA growth. To contribute a full 1 percentage point to GVA growth, agriculture will have to grow by 6%, which is unlikely in 2020-21. This is not to deny a potential rise in demand from higher Rabi procurement, higher Kharif sowing, and flow of cheap credit, which together appear to have resulted in higher purchase of tractors and fertilizers, but the contracting tendencies in rural areas, lower crop prices, lower market arrivals, and higher employment would overwhelm these grain routes. Full stop.